Hello, friends, and welcome back to another set of malicious compliance stories. Our first story today is a lesson in patience, property, and petty satisfaction. When a guy decided that someone else's driveway was fair game during school pickup, he learned the hard way that not every homeowner plays nice. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. The Entitled Park and Go Hero. I live directly across the street from a small city park that's attached to the elementary school just down the block. On a normal day, the park gets a steady trickle of joggers, dog walkers, and kids playing ball. Nothing I mind at all. The real chaos starts around 3:15 when the school bell rings and the pickup parade begins. Parents swarm in like clockwork, engines idling, car doors slamming, and hazard lights blinking, and somehow every single one of them thinks my driveway is community property. Now I get it, picking up your kids from school can be hectic, but here's my problem. If I let one person park in my driveway just for a few minutes, then I have to let everyone, so it's a firm no. Every single time, no exceptions. This year's school schedule happens to line up perfectly with the time I get home from work, which has made things interesting. My neighbors and I have basically been in a silent war against entitled parents trying to treat our driveways like overflow parking. Cones, signs, polite requests, nothing works for long. A few weeks ago, I came home to find a big pickup truck idling in my driveway. Nobody in sight. The guy had just left it running, taking up the entire space so I couldn't even squeeze my own truck in. I circled once hoping he'd appear, but nope, he was gone. So I parked directly behind him, boxed him in, and went inside. I figured he'd be back in a minute or two. 15 minutes passed, nothing. I checked my security cameras. He'd been parked there for almost 40 minutes before I even got home. So clearly this wasn't a quick stop. I shrugged, decided I wasn't going to stress about it, and went to take a shower. 2 minutes into my shower, I heard pounding on the front door, loud, angry knocking that echoed through the house. You think I hurried up? Nope. I let the hot water run a little longer, leaned back, and enjoyed a solid 10-minute shower. If he was mad now, he could stay mad. When I finally got out and dressed, the guy had stopped. I checked the camera again. The guy was pacing on my porch, yelling into his phone and glaring at the door like it had personally insulted him. I waited another few minutes just to see if he'd knock again. Eventually, he did. I opened the door, and before I could even say hello, he started in on me, shouting about how I'd made him late for work and how I had no right to block him in. Then came the kicker. Apparently, he claimed he had an agreement with the people who used to live here, and they always let him park in the driveway during school pickup. That's funny, because I lived here last year. I told him as much, and his face turned bright red. Well, I never had a problem before, he snapped. I pointed out that the driveway was on private property and asked him if he saw a public parking sign anywhere. He just huffed and said, "You don't have to be such a jerk about it." The best part? He didn't even have any kids with him. No car seat, no backpack, no kid in sight. Just a grown man acting like the world owed him a free parking space. I let him rant for a bit before sighing and heading out to move my truck. It took me a solid 5 minutes, and I took my time. Picture this, a grown man standing on your porch screaming into his phone because the world dared to make him face consequences for bad parking choices. That's not an adult, that's a toddler with car keys. He wasn't late for work, he was late for the realization that driveway doesn't mean public amenity, and the idea that he once had an arrangement is hilarious. Like there's a secret HOA rule that says if you squat long enough, you earn parking rights. And our second story. The $85,000 lesson. When my dad passed away, I was 17 and barely holding it together. He'd remarried a few years before, and his wife, let's call her Pam, had always been controlling. But after he died, she turned into a full-blown tyrant. At first, I stayed with her because it felt like the logical thing to do. It was still my dad's house, my room, my stuff, but within a few weeks, she made it clear that I wasn't welcome. Not really. She'd make cutting remarks about how I was too expensive to keep around or how I owed her for everything since she was putting a roof over my head. And then came the touching. Not affectionate, not maternal, humiliating. She'd grab my arm in public, yank at my clothes, and make comments that made everyone around uncomfortable. When I started pulling away, she turned to yelling and slapping. The day she threw a coffee mug that barely missed my head, I packed a bag and left. I moved in with my aunt, who was shocked when I told her what had been going on. One night, we were talking over dinner, and I mentioned something my dad had told me before he died, that he'd set up a college fund and left me his old car. Pam, of course, had kept both. My aunt stared at me and said, "You need a lawyer, sweetheart." So we got one. That's when I learned just how messy things really were. Pam had been using my dad's accounts, claiming his survivor's pension and running her small salon business entirely under the radar. No tax filings, no bookkeeping, nothing. Every time we tried to move forward legally, she'd stall. "Oh, I didn't get the paperwork. My lawyer's out of town. We need more time to collect records." She dragged things out for almost a year. All I wanted was what my dad had left for me, my college savings and the car. But Pam acted like I was trying to steal from her. When we finally got to a hearing, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Pam walked in wearing too much perfume and an expression that said she thought she'd already won. Her lawyer seemed confused about what the case even was, muttering something about child support before realizing my dad was dead. My lawyer, bless her, was patient but sharp. She tore into Pam's excuses one by one. "Mrs. Patterson," she said, "do you have a copy of the late Mr. Patterson's will?" Pam paused. "I burned it," she said flatly. The courtroom went silent. "Burned it?" my lawyer repeated, blinking. Pam nodded, folding her arms like a child caught lying. But then, not 2 minutes later, she pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from her purse and said, "Actually, I do have a copy." The judge raised an eyebrow. My lawyer asked to see it. The signature at the bottom looked nothing like my dad's, all sharp angles and loops that didn't belong. My dad had the neat, careful handwriting of a man who balanced his checkbook and pen. This was pure forgery. Pam's lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into his chair. My lawyer didn't even have to say anything. The judge just sighed and said, "We'll revisit that document later." It only got worse for her. At one point, my lawyer asked what the initials T and P stood for in her salon's name. She stammered, panicking. "Toes and foot," she said confidently, like she'd just solved a math problem. "Toes and what?" my lawyer asked. "Foot with a PH. It's classy." The court reporter actually looked up from her typing and gave Pam the most confused look I've ever seen. Even the judge cracked a smile. By the end of the hearing, Pam was practically begging to settle. She knew she was cooked. She'd spent months dragging out the case, paying lawyer after lawyer, and now she was staring down a mountain of debt and embarrassment. The judge advised her to settle quickly. "Before this gets any uglier," he said, because the ruling was not going to go her way. And it didn't. In the final decision, I was awarded 50% of my dad's life insurance policy, something Pam had been conveniently hiding. The other half went to my brother, who hadn't seen a cent either. The court also ordered her to repay the survivor's pension she'd been siphoning from my account after my dad's death, and to release my college savings, over $50,000. And because she was the one who dragged everything out for so long, she was ordered to pay all of my legal fees, roughly $35,000. When my lawyer told me, I just sat there in shock. All that pain, all that nonsense, finally over. I even offered to return the car, just to twist the knife a little. She fought so hard to keep it, and now I didn't even want it. Last I heard, her salon went under. Apparently, Toes and Foot wasn't exactly a booming brand name after all. As for me, I used the money to go to college, something my dad always wanted for me. Every semester I paid tuition. I smiled, knowing that Pam was still out there somewhere, probably trying to explain to her accountant why the stepdaughter she abused had bankrupted her in court. Your decision to use the money for college is the most fitting conclusion possible. It transforms Pam's defeat into your future, honoring your father's memory in the most direct way. Her salon's failure is a natural consequence of the same dishonesty and poor judgment that doomed her in court. You closed a painful chapter with integrity and emerged with the resources to build the life your father wanted for you. This is a story where justice was not only done, but was seen to be done thoroughly and completely. And our last story. Karen stole my $10,000 to buy a house. My mom was renting a small but cozy house she'd lived in for years. The landlord decided he wanted to sell, so she needed to find somewhere else to go. Nothing out of the ordinary there, except the rent had been well below market value because I had personally remodeled the place years earlier. The landlord and my mom had agreed that the improvements would keep her rent steady, and everyone was happy with the deal. When the landlord told her he was selling, he offered her a $10,000 check as a kind of thank you and relocation bonus once she moved out. He even suggested his realtor could help her find something new. It sounded simple. Then my sister Karen got involved. Karen swept in with that tone she always uses when she's about to make something sound like a favor, but it's really a setup. She told Mom she had a brilliant idea. They could buy a house together. With Karen's credit and income combined with Mom's, they'd qualify for something so much nicer than Mom could get on her own. Mom, bless her, thought it was wonderful. She's getting older and doesn't like handling paperwork or banks, so the idea of Karen managing it all sounded like a relief. Karen promised she'd handle the messy stuff. Just sit back, relax, Mom. If we need your signature, someone will reach out. That's all you have to do. What actually happened? That $10,000 check, the one my mom was going to give me, never even touched her hands. Karen intercepted it. Everyone involved, the landlord, the realtor, even my mom, knew the check was meant for me, but somehow Karen managed to have it deposited into a brand new checking account she created in Mom's name. She even picked Mom up from work one day under the pretense of helping her deposit the check. They went to the bank, opened the account, and Karen told her, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll handle the setup. It's just for the house." Except Mom didn't have any access to the account. Months later, she discovered the truth. The $10,000 wasn't used directly for the down payment like Karen claimed. Instead, Karen's girlfriend had fronted the down payment, and once the sale went through, they reimbursed themselves with my money. It was a cover operation from the start, a paper trail designed to make it look legitimate while they siphoned what was rightfully mine into their new home. So yes, Karen got herself a nice little house with Mom's name on the mortgage and my money in the down payment. Fast forward about 8 months, and now Karen's telling Mom it's time to take her name off the property. Mom, who's been paying half the mortgage every month, is suddenly being told she'll still have to pay, but won't be a part owner anymore. Karen claims it's for tax reasons and that it'll be easier for everyone. Right. Easier for her. Here's the thing. Mom isn't naive anymore. She's angry and finally standing her ground. She went back to that same bank, provided her ID, and got access to the account. The look on her face when she saw the transactions told me everything I needed to know. The $10,000 was never ours, never for the house. It was my money rerouted to cover Karen's little dream of being a homeowner. So now Mom stopped making mortgage payments entirely. She told Karen point blank that until I'm reimbursed, she's not paying another dime. Karen's response? Classic Karen. She told Mom that if she didn't keep paying, she'd just let the bank take the house. That's not an idle threat either. She said it like she thought it would scare Mom into compliance. Instead, Mom just said, then you'll lose your house, not mine. It's been tense ever since. Karen's playing the victim, insisting she never meant to cause problems and that families shouldn't fight over money. But let's be honest, this isn't about family or misunderstanding. This is about manipulation and greed. She didn't step in to help Mom. She stepped in to use her credit, her name, her trust, and she used my $10,000 to make it happen. Now Mom's meeting with a lawyer. She's done being steamrolled, and I'm finally going to see some accountability for what Karen pulled. If that house goes into foreclosure because Karen can't stand to take responsibility, so be it. It's still better than letting her keep something she stole from both of us. Some people learn the hard way that you can't scam your own family forever. Karen's about to get that lesson in full. Update. It's been a few months since I last wrote about my sister Karen and her little real estate heist. After Mom stopped paying her half of the mortgage, Karen tried bluffing, claiming she could handle it herself. Turns out she couldn't even handle the property taxes. The payments started bouncing, late fees piled up, and the lender flagged the account for irregular deposits. When they requested updated proof of income, Karen panicked and sent in forged pay stubs. Bad idea. That triggered a full review. The bank froze the joint account pending investigation, and the loan officer reached out to Mom, whose name was still legally on the deed. Once the bank realized Mom had been paying from her own account while Karen funneled money elsewhere, they treated it as mortgage fraud. Within weeks, Karen was served with notice. She tried to fight it, but the house didn't stay hers for long. The bank repossessed it, and it went to auction last month. Mom, with a little help from her lawyer, managed to have her liability removed and even got a small settlement for the misuse of her name. Karen walked away with nothing. No house, no down payment, and a shiny new mark on her credit report that'll follow her for years. Last I heard, she's renting a one-bed flat and blaming everyone but herself. You ever notice how some people think family means free pass? Like they can scam you as long as they say it with a smile and call it help? That's Karen in a nutshell. The gall to steal your $10,000, use your mom's name, and then tell her she still has to pay for a house she's not allowed to own anymore? That's not family, that's organized stupidity. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.